Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? For those of you this is your first time tuning in, I hope you will go back and look at the other episodes because you're going to love this one. I am Karen E. Osborne, author of Getting It Right and the upcoming women's fiction, suspense, murder mystery, Tangled Lies that comes out on July 22nd. Today, I am so thrilled to have my friend, Emily Goulding, coming back to talk to us and share with us. And let me just tell you a little bit about her, and then she can tell you about herself. Uh, Emily is a writer and a teacher and a grants guru, among other things, and she runs the education program for Amplifier, which she's going to tell us about. Education Amplifier provides free artwork, lesson plans, and teaching tools that help facilitate nonpartisan conversations around social justice, but listen to this part, in K-12 classrooms. And currently they reach over 1 million kids. Welcome, welcome, Emily.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to reconnect. I know that our journey had crossed around Johns Hopkins University and the grant writing world and the nonprofit world and writing and thinking. And so I'm so thrilled to be in community with you, Karen. It's been such a blessing to know you for 4 years now.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is wonderful. I am thrilled that you are with us.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
maybe you could start by just telling our audience a little bit about what you are currently doing.
Of course, no worries. So I'm currently the Director of Development and Communications at Amplifier, and we are a nonprofit design lab that amplifies the most important movements of our time. So we started off in 2016. We had a big campaign that was called We the People. We had 3 iconic images. This was one of them that we launched around the inauguration of President Trump, and it was to provide symbols of hope and love and understanding in the face of fear. We hacked ways to get into the inauguration. We had banner drops. We took out full-page ads in the Washington Post. Our founder is a journalist. His name is Aaron Huey. He's a National Geographic photographer, and he thought, how can we use the distribution mechanisms of journalism and of nonfiction storytelling to grapple with our present, with our non-fictional present, and how do we tell the stories of what we're experiencing and who we want to be in the present? So that was the birth of Amplifier, and we build campaigns for civic groups, for educational groups, for activist groups. That launched to our average audience sizes in the tens of millions in terms of who sees this work. We wheat paste work up in the world, and perhaps most pertinent to our conversation is our education work, that we present these tools for students mostly so it spans the K through 12. A good example is we had a 10-piece curriculum called We the Future. This is one of them. His name is Chetescott Martinez. This is AR activatable now. So if folks get the Amplifier AR app, you hover over the image and he talks to you and he tells you about his commitment to climate justice and why he feels it's important. But these tools went out to classrooms, as you mentioned, thank you, of 1 million students nationwide. So that young people can see themselves reflected in the most important movements of our time and understand how they could become leaders like them. Isn't that beautiful? Take action.
That's beautiful, how they can become activists, how they can become voices for change and
Exactly.
for unity and good
Exactly.
things. Yeah, oh, that is beautiful. So
Thank
since
you.
this is about reading and writing,
Yes.
there's some books that you have been reading with your son or
Yes.
connected to your work that you could recommend to our audience.
Of course. So I have been reading a book. Well, sorry, before I do that, I just want to mention one of our profiles was of Amanda Gordon, the poet. 4 years ago, we profiled her when she was much younger, before she was in.
She was a national icon.
Exactly. So this is a point of pride for us.
Yes, you discovered her.
She was gracious enough to be part of our work. But so this author Valarie Kaur is an activist that's part of our new campaign called Rebuilding the Union. And this work has been really interesting. She's a Sikh American writer. She's from the Central Valley of California, and she uses the lens of faith to think about how we can kind of heal our civic environment and see affinity within each other in a different way. It's really interesting. So it's called See No Stranger.
I like that.
Thank you. I think it's just out this year. I also I've been working with a lot of nonfiction recently in Amplifier, but also in teaching. So I teach writing at Occidental College, and I've been telling my students these pieces about what makes a good story. And so I've been delving into a lot of nonfiction myself, and it also bolsters me as a thinker of how we grapple with the profound change happening all around us in the pandemic. I love the writer Elizabeth Alexander. The poet, and I think she currently leads the Melon. So I've been reading her. Cecilia
Munoz. That one again. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Emily, but you froze for half a minute. So could you just hold that one up again to make sure that our readers?
Of course, yes, of course. I'm sorry. So The Light of the World by Elizabeth Alexander. She's kind of a poet, and she's currently leading the Mellon Foundation, which is the largest arts and culture grant maker in the United States. So, goals over here.
All right.
One more. Right. And then my father gave me this for Christmas, More Than Ready by Cecilia Munoz. She's Bolivian American. I'm part Nicaraguan American. And it's a lesson from her time in the White House around women of color and in professions, and kind of taking stock of ourselves and rising to moments in different ways. And this was her journey through the Obama years, which I found to be really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, these are great choices. Yeah. One of the problems with this series is that my list of books that I have to read just keeps piling up because people bring such interesting and such a variety of genres. So thank you. You are bilingual, correct?
I am bilingual. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you read books in Spanish?
Oh, thanks for asking. Not as much as I should. I've been listening to more music and film in Spanish. I delved into it pretty seriously in college and graduate school, where I studied abroad in South America, and I worked for a Spanish language news network. But I haven't been as good as reading in Spanish.
I understand. Yes. So you also teach writing. Yes. And so what are some of the keys to, matter of fact, that's how you and I met, is helping you, teaching people about storytelling.
Yeah, you helped launch my academic career, Karen. So thank you.
So tell me, what are some of the keys? Because, you write nonfiction, fiction, grant writing, which is just a whole other thing. What are some of the, but they all have in common, great storytelling.
Yeah.
So what are some of those keys?
Of course. I've been taking this one approach that my professor in graduate school, Howard Yoon, taught us at Georgetown, and he had this saying that great writing is clear thinking made visible. I think isn't that good?
I love that.
I love that too. And so it speaks to, I think, all of our joint priorities around grant writing is clear writing, good storytelling is clear writing. So when I teach, these tentacles of great storytelling, there's some intrigue, there's some conflict, there's some what if rhetoric around if something happens, what else is set into motion, whether that's, the cadence between paragraphs on an essay level, or even, within a grant proposal, what is contingent upon funding, that will be made possible through this. And even when I tell my son stories at night, so we have a reoccurring theme where we make up stories about these two characters, Mirella and Ziggy, something always has to happen to them, or they have to have learned something by the end, but it has to be clear what the takeaway was. And even in books I read to him, like Counting on Community is a fun one. It's this really fun.
How old is he now?
Series by this activist author that it, you know, what was the main lesson of the story? What is the main point of the essay? What is the main pitch of a project that we want to make happen in the world of Amplifier? Or what is my main point of a teaching tool for high school students? We just did a fun project with the J. Paul Getty Museum, teaching them how to do activist posters. And it was beautiful to see that 1,500 teens submitted work that was kind of in Robert Kruger style, where they would pair text and photo. But our lesson plan was teaching them, what is the thesis of the photograph? What is the message of your work? On the level of 2 words or 1 sentence, but how does it come together in a way that is one main idea? And I really struggled with that as a young writer, and as a student. And I remember I had this one teacher in graduate school, Natalie Hopkinson, who's now at Howard, tenured at Howard. And she said, Emily, one piece is one idea. And that was really clear to me on a whether it's a piece of reporting or an essay or these short form, one idea. And she said, many pieces can be these many ideas, but one piece is one idea. And that really helped me.
That is. That goes back to your point about clarity.
Yeah.
You were showing us a book that you were reading with your son and you froze. And I just wanted to come back to that. So you could show that book. And how old is he now?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So this is the book. This author also has a fun book called A for Activist.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
And so if you could leave, as we wrap up, if you could leave our audience, we have so many parents, grandparents, and aunties and uncles, and their kids are all being homeschooled. And, so if you could leave them with some message that would both lift them up, but get them moving.
Yeah.
What message would that be?
No, I love that. And actually, I brought a book that I think embodies this better than I can. And my son's father brought this for him. And it's I Believe I Can. Yeah. Karen, it's I know all of us are so heartbroken by what kids are experiencing in quarantine of their isolation. This has never happened within hundreds of years of this nation. The travesty of their loneliness. And I think that so when I think about it from a writing perspective and an educator perspective, I look at the social emotional element, social emotional learning. I think to me is the key to unpacking what kids are feeling.
Yes.
That, so often, they lack vocabulary of what they're feeling. They might process it later than us. They might process it faster. Their emotions, move 10 million miles an hour. And that to me, Karen, is the piece that I would love to see school districts really get a handle on as we think about reopening schools, of how do we help kids process what happened, unpack their trauma, grow from it, look ahead, think differently, admit that it was hard. And so when I think of all the adults in their lives and, they're grown-ups, of helping them process, hey, today was a Tuesday that might not have been that fun, or hey, this weekend is different than it was last year, because last year we did this and this and this. This year is hard, right? Because we're doing this and this. I think
good advice. That's really, really good advice. As a grandma of a 2-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 14-year-old, although the 14-year-old is like whatever, but the 9-year-old and the 2-year-old. rules. This, this is perfect, and I really appreciate it. Oh, I could talk to you for an hour.
I could talk to you for now.
But we promised our audience to keep these short. So
Yes.
I just want you to know that you can, if you would like to ask Emily some questions, you can find her. Where can they find you, Emily? What would be the best way for our audience to reach out to you?
Oh, thank you. Well, let's see. So it might be Twitter, actually. So my Twitter handle is at Emily Girasol. Girasol means sunflower in Spanish. And that was the name of my business when I had a grant writing business. Emily Girasol is my social handle. I'm also at emilygoulding.org. Yeah, that's probably the
All
easiest.
right, thank you. And you can get me at Karen E. Osborne at gmail.com is my email. No, that's not right. KarenEOsborne.com is my website, and that's the best place to go. I was messing up my email address, but we are so glad that you came to see us, Emily. We're just
Thank you so much.
delighted, and we're so glad that all of
Amazing.
you have come to hear us. We hope you have a good day, be safe, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.